Hello guys, and last night Ukrainian drones sanctioned more of Russia's oil industry. -2 oil refineries in Kstovo, Nizhny Novgorod, and -1 big oil production plant in Bashkortostan. But today, I want to focus on this devastating effect of this beautiful sanctions combo, Ukrainian drones and economic sanctions, that literally erase Russia's oil industry. And here I'm talking not just about refining or export, but also about the extraction of oil. At this moment in time, the Kremlin does not have any countries ready to buy their crude oil in the situation when they don't have more oil refineries left. And this is beautiful, especially if we combine it with the updates from the gas export sphere, where the numbers drop to the worst Soviet moments. Putin is destroying Russia from within, and our task is to speed up the process. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the defeat and demilitarization of the evil empire, subscribe and share these videos to spread the truth and some optimism that we need. So let's begin with Ukrainian drone sanctions that took place last night in lots of locations inside Russia. Seemed unbelievable in 2022, right? But the new normal for the Russian Federation now. But important targets that were destroyed: two oil refineries in Kstovo, Nizhny Novgorod, a huge oil refining hub, and an oil production plant in Bashkortostan. That is a republic far away from Ukraine that has a great potential to become independent. And whenever we speak about protests inside Russia, we often speak about Bashkortostan. Some of you may already recognize the name of this country. So this is important. This is very effective. 40% of the oil refineries out of order are not operating. And here we come to some beautiful conclusions, which I actually borrowed from the Ukrainian journalists and experts like Vitaly Portnikov, whom I often watch on YouTube here. And many Ukrainians who follow him describe his videos as quite pessimistic. He does not promise quick victory, but even he, with his realistic or pessimistic approach, is describing this disaster that right now develops inside Russia's oil industry by providing additional facts. So let's have a look. 40% of oil refining industry is off. What do you do with all of that crude oil? And by the way, I hope you've noticed how my English vocabulary in the sphere of oil extended. Anyway, so this crude oil, they usually sold to other countries when they had some problems with local production. Countries like India, China, Turkey were always ready to buy Russian oil. But now they say no to the Kremlin, even after many promises, because they are afraid of the secondary sanctions that can be imposed on their companies and harm their economies. In the world of predators, nobody cares about Putin's survival. They were ready to buy oil for cheap prices, but without consequences. With consequences, they don't want it. Thumbs up. I know smart people, we are a community of smart people, experienced people, you will say, but Russia always finds ways to avoid sanctions. And you will be true, this happens, unfortunately. First of all, because all the institutions that impose sanctions, apart from the Ukrainian armed forces, may not be that strict. Plus, that's all about economy. It's a huge machine, especially if we think of its global dimension. But it takes time, and it also makes Russia offer some discounts, some unusually, unreasonably comfortable conditions for the countries that may return to buying this oil. So what will happen in the next months? Rosneft, Lukoil, and the destroyed oil refineries belong to Lukoil, will be looking for a solution, how to avoid sanctions, how to cheer these countries to buy Russia's crude oil, how to lower the prices, and This all leads to more and more problems for the Russian budget that is already empty, so that the central bank minister of finance is literally crying. They are not hiding this fear anymore, even in the presence of the Kremlin gobbling. And by the way, that's why the Russian oligarchs are so dissatisfied with this final years of Putin's rule. So it will take quite a long period of time for Russia to solve the problem with new sanctions, while the drone sanctions will continue. And once again, even when they find where to sell this crude oil, they do it for very discounted prices. And here we come to another very important consequence. While looking for customers, they might need to freeze the extraction of oil, literally to close these extraction places, mines. I don't know if it's the right word to use here. And this is a tragedy for any energy dependent country, energy production country. A similar situation took place in Venezuela during Hugo Chavez and now Maduro, who nationalized oil production and did not predict sanctions coming. And they literally froze all the production. And to return back to this normal level, it may take years, if not decades. So Russia is heading in the same direction. Destroyed oil refineries need to export their crude oil to produce something outside Russia, and no willing countries to accept Russia's crude oil, and the reason to freeze the extraction sites. That will be a tremendous blow to the companies like Lukoil, like Gazprom, that are already on the brink of the collapse, and they were once symbols of Russia's wealth, and now they are on the top of Russia's debtors Forbes list. Just imagine what list they publish in the Russian Forbes, and it actually tells a lot. And for example, gas export that Russia was also famous for, Gazprom, dropped to the Brezhnev times level. Many of you remember that Secretary General of the Communist Party in the 60s, if I'm not mistaken, and that was not the best period for the Soviet Union, and that was like 60 years ago. So right now, the level of gas export is similar. It dropped 45% since we stopped transporting Russia's gas and decided to implement our drone sanctions against their gas pipelines and so on. And there were times when Russia was the main energy supplier of the European Union, and it was mentioned in the commercials. You could read it on, the sides of soccer fields like Gazprom, Lukoil, and what now? Putin destroyed them all, and they understand that. They are not satisfied with the failed blitzkrieg. And they will blame Putin. Now Putin blames Gerasimov, Putin blames Lavrov. We spoke about that yesterday, but there are also people that blame Putin, people who made him. Anyway, while they are trying to solve this problem, new problems are amassing, but literally, perhaps only Hungary and Slovakia, and these are not big countries, not big economies, let's be realistic, keep buying something from Russia, and the rest of the customers are lost, and they won't return back because people are looking for, first of all, alternative sources of energy, and second, no one wants to be energy dependent on Russia, like no one wants to be dependent on Russia in general. Thumbs up, because by the way, this push to stop buying Russian gas, Russian oil saved a lot of governments from this evil Russian interference in your social, cultural, and political life. And that is another, important outcome of Ukraine's resilience, that we did not surrender and we kept fighting, and now we are destroying Russia. Dozens of their regions are an active war zone. And what is interesting, in the 21st century war, you don't need to drive to the Kremlin with tanks. You can simply destroy oil refining industry and they won't have anything. Because once again, tell me in the comments below what Russian products, created products, designed products, developed products you keep buying, or you feel sorry you cannot buy because of the sanctions. I'm talking about cars, telephones, televisions, software, ships, anything. Don't mention vodka or caviar or fur coat. That's not something you have to design for years. They are not competitive on the level of artificial intelligence, on the level of browsers, and even social media platforms like Telegram or Vkontakte. They were copied from American, European prototypes. Nothing. They were ready to sell gas and oil as long as they have gas and oil, but now nobody wants that. And the sanctions are kept being implemented. Thank you so much for your friendship and support. Follow me on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, Discord. The links you will find in the description of this video, same as the link to our merch shop with lots of sweatshirts and hoodies, good for this cooler weather, at least in our hemisphere. And they magically turn you into ambassadors of Ukraine. Please help us remind the world about our fight and the demilitarization of Russia that has already started. Thank you for buying me coffees. Cheers, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel, but most importantly, thank you for standing with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!